Helen, when I think of some of the health plans that I've personally worked with, some of the challenges they had that I would put in this category of health literacy, where I've seen some make improvements, such as rather than sending a 2-page letter with tons of text, 300-400 words on it, they changed it almost like an infograph with just a few call out boxes and some text and some visuals. It felt like it was much more engaging for most people. And then I think about plans that have a portal, right? An online portal where they're trying to make it more visually appealing and understandable and engaging. If someone was looking for best practices on kind of how to do those kinds of things, are maybe those in your podcast, and I've not read your book yet, it's on my list. Like where would you point people to kind of learn how to make their materials more engaging?
Well, if you're talking about materials to be more engaging, that's different from the encounter that's more engaging. So I do talk about a variety of different ways to do things, but you're talking about, your question was about materials, so I want to address that. And one way to do that, a great tool to do that, is plain language. And people may be dismissive of that, like, isn't that, I hate the term, dumbing down, but
sure. My
response is no, it's smartening up, because we want to communicate in ways people truly can understand. And for those of you, the people you're working with who are counting things and looking at costs and all that, think of how much money it costs if someone doesn't understand the material and then calls or then goes back to the emergency room because they took 11 times the amount of medication because of our choice of word once. There are a lot of ways to do it, but plain language is described. One of the definitions from the International Plain Language Federation is, a communication is in plain language if its wording, structure, and design are so clear that the intended audience can easily find what they need, understand what they find, and then use that information. And there are many components to this. It's, just because you wrote simpler when you were a kid and you write more complicated now that you're being paid to use big fancy words, or in graduate school you need big fancy words to say the same thing 3 different ways. Plain language, really, again, be thinking of the other person. And plain language includes the organization of the information, the tone, your word choice, yes, your sentence structure, of course, the design, and the opportunity for interaction. And I guess that gets to the gist of one of the reasons I'm not a fan of just thinking your job's done if you know a reading grade level and then you change the word diabetes to sugar because it's got 2 syllables. Well, you miss the mark, but you can pass the test of a readability. That's only looking at one factor. Those reading grade level things are designed by some programmer somewhere for how many syllables in a word and how many words in a sentence. It's not covered, this whole longer list I gave you of all that's included and how to make information more usable and understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you're connecting all of the dots across all of the topics, right? Health literacy really is the foundation, and it should, be part of the framework for quality, not just addressing health equity and disparities,